Is the biggest secret behind Hollywood's glittering stage finally revealed? Or is it just the beginning of the collapse of a global musical dynasty that has so far seemed flawless without gaps? Check out the shocking confession that will change your outlook forever. Don't forget to leave a comment below about your theory, and subscribe so as not to miss our next exclusive investigation, because every detail in this report is key to understanding what really happened in America. Have you ever imagined what happens when the spotlights go out and the stage curtains close tightly in an exclusive recording studio in the heart of Los Angeles? What if the perfect image that has been adored by millions of pairs of eyes around the world is just a thin veil that hides a much darker and more complex reality than anyone has ever dared to imagine? The global entertainment world is currently on the verge of an unprecedented shock, a storm triggered by a series of mysterious statements from one of their closest collaborators, Halsey. The names of BTS's Jungkook and Jimin suddenly became the center of a conversation that was no longer about achievements or charts, but about an incident that happened behind closed doors during their secret visit to the United States. Hidden clues begin to emerge one by one, leaving a trail that leads to one big question that haunts every ARMY mind across the earth. What exactly did Halsey witness that night? The tension began when Halsey, who is known to have a very close friendship relationship with the BTS members since their phenomenal collaboration, gave a statement that sounded very unusual in a sudden interview session that was later mysteriously deleted from the internet. With a quivering tone of voice and a heavy-laden gaze, he mentioned that something had gone terribly wrong during a late-night recording session at a studio in California. The statement wasn't long, but it was sharp enough to slice through the calm of the music industry. He mentioned Jungkook and Jimin by name specifically, stating that the situation he saw involved a huge conflict of interest and a confrontation that could hardly be trusted by common sense. Why has Halsey, someone who has always protected them, suddenly chosen to speak out now? And what does she really mean by the scandal that will change everything? The atmosphere in Los Angeles at that time did feel different since the arrival of the two big South Korean stars. Jungkook and Jimin reportedly arrived with much tighter escorts than usual, avoiding crowds of fans at the airport by using a rarely used private exit. They were there for a project that was claimed to be a secret collaboration, but the atmosphere around them did not show the excitement like musicians who were working. The staff of the hotel where they were staying whispered stories of a violent argument heard from the corridors of the top floor, an altercation involving well-known voices, but in a tone full of anger and despair. No one dared to approach, but the vibrations of tension spread all the way to the lobby, creating unspoken anxiety among those who knew about the stars' whereabouts. Halsey was then seen exiting the recording studio building at 3 in the morning with a puffy face and hurried steps. He declined to comment to paparazzi who were already lurking outside, but an amateur tape captured the moment when he appeared to be talking to his personal assistant in the car, saying he did not expect Jungkook and Jimin to get into such deep trouble. This clue seems to be the first puzzle piece of a much larger and terrible picture. What happened in that soundproof room that made a Halsey feel the need to give a veiled warning to the public? Does it have to do with an unlawful contract, a personal dispute that explodes into violence, or something much darker involving the top brass of the American music industry who have been untouched by the law? The news quickly spread like wildfire over a gasoline spill, leaving millions of soldiers feeling betrayed, but also deeply worried for their idol's safety. Major American media outlets began digging deeper, trying to find physical evidence of the so-called shocking scandal. Reports emerged from an anonymous informant who claimed to work at the studio that there was an incident involving the loss of important documents and a physical confrontation involving an unidentified third party. Jungkook, who is known for his gentle personality, and Jimin, who always keeps his manners, are suddenly portrayed in very different narratives. Narratives full of psychological pressure and shadows of failure imposed by certain parties who want to bring them down right at the peak of their glory. The real shock came when a blurry photo circulated on dark internet forums, showing Jungkook and Jimin in a remote industrial area on the outskirts of Los Angeles hours after Halsey gave her statement. In the photo, they don't look like superstars. They look like two people on the run from something very scary. Their clothes looked crumpled, and Jimin's facial expression showed deep pain, while Jungkook appeared to be calling someone with a panicked expression. Their presence in a location far from the luxury of Beverly Hills or an elite recording studio raises suspicions that this scandal is not just a professional matter, but a real threat to their integrity and possibly their own lives in such a foreign land. The emotional twist in this news was further felt when fans began to notice that the two members' social media activities had come to a complete standstill since the night of the incident. No more cheery uploads, no interaction on the fan community platform, just deafening silence. Halsey, via her now privatized Twitter account, had posted a quote about loyalty betrayed by the system before it disappeared from public circulation. Everyone is wondering, is Halsey trying to save them, or is she being forced by certain parties to be the bearer of this bad news? The pressure on fans' shoulders grows heavier when they realize that their idols may be caught in the web of a highly manipulative corporate America. The investigation led to a secret meeting that reportedly took place at a luxury villa in Malibu days before the scandal broke. The meeting was attended by several executives of major music labels from the United States and representatives of their agencies in South Korea. Rumor has it that there was a deal that Jungkook and Jimin flatly rejected, a deal that required them to give up their artistic identities for the sake of long-term financial gains that only benefit the shareholders. It was this rejection that allegedly triggered a series of bullying events experienced by both of them, which ultimately culminated in a dramatic incident witnessed by Halsey in the recording studio. The biggest fear is if this scandal is deliberately created to permanently destroy their reputation so that they no longer have bargaining power in the international market. America, in all its glory, is often a very cruel place for those who dare to go against the mainstream of the entertainment industry. Halsey, as a longtime insider in Hollywood, seems to know the consequences of what she said, but her conscience can no longer seem to bear the burden of the secret. He sees Jungkook and Jimin not as products, but as human beings who are being slowly destroyed by a greedy system. And a statement is a last-ditch effort to spark the world's attention before it's too late. Amid this uncertainty, fans began a movement on social media with hashtags demanding transparency and protection for the two members. However, the louder they shouted, the tighter the closure of information on the part of local agencies and authorities in America. There are indications that some CCTV footage from key locations has been lost or deliberately tampered with, adding a layer of mystery that leaves anyone following it breathless. How is it that two people so loved can suddenly be in such a vulnerable situation in a country that they have always considered a second home for work? Every minute that passes without official clarification only adds to the deep unease. The public began to question whether they really knew their idol, or whether there was another side that was deliberately hidden in order to maintain the image of the best boy band in the world. However, for those who have followed Jungkook and Jimin's journey since the beginning, there's a belief that they are the victims of a much larger conspiracy. Halsey became the only bridge between the bitter truth and the false narrative that the sensation-hungry mass media tried to build. Halsey's words about complicity in a shocking scandal began to be analyzed word for word, looking for any implicit meaning that might be tucked behind the term she used. Tensions reached their peak when news emerged that the Los Angeles police received a report of an incident that occurred at the studio's address, but the report was soon retracted at the request of interested parties. This is a strong hint that there is an interference of power trying to put a damper on this scandal before it explodes into the public at large. However, Halsey did not remain silent. He sent out a message on his Instagram story that included only a black background with a small text in the bottom corner that read, "The truth cannot be buried forever, even though they are trying to use money to do it." This message seems to confirm that Jungkook and Jimin are fighting against something very big and very powerful. The climax of the first act of the mystery is when a short 5-second video appears on an unpopular social media platform, showing Jungkook trying to calm a crying Jimin in a cluttered room. The video was immediately deleted, but it was seen by thousands of people who immediately saved it. There, it is clear that they are not involved in a criminal act, but rather they are victims of a very emotional and stressful situation. Why is Jim crying? And what caused the room to look like there had just been a violent fight? These answers seem to be locked inside Halsey's memory and behind very strict confidentiality contracts that bind everyone who was at the scene that night. The United States, which was once a dream stage for BTS, has now turned into a quiet but deadly battlefield. This scandal is no longer just ordinary celebrity gossip. It is a moral battle between human integrity and industrial greed. Armies around the world are now united in the same anxiety, waiting with bated breath for any new piece of information that may emerge. They knew that whatever Halsey said, it was just the tip of a very deep iceberg below the surface of the water. This shocking scandal has only just begun, and its impact will be felt for years to come, shaking the foundations of what we call global popularity. Every little detail began to be re-examined, from the lyrics of their latest song, which was considered to contain a veiled message for help, to the changes in their body language in the last few public appearances in America. All those signs now feel so real and painful. Jungkook, who is usually full of energy, now looks more introverted, while Jimin, who is always smiling, is often caught on camera daydreaming with a blank look. Do they already know that this storm was coming? Or are they deliberately trapped into a situation where they have no choice but to give in to the demands of those who want to control them? Halsey is now at the center of the storm, the target of attacks from various parties who want to silence her. However, he's also the Army's only hope of finding out what really happened to Jungkook and Jimin. His courage to speak, even if only in small pieces, has ignited a fire that will not be easily extinguished. The world now looks toward America intently, awaiting the next steps of the lead actors in this real-life drama that is becoming increasingly tense and full of painful surprises for anyone who cares about justice and truth in the world's music industry. The shock caused by the 5-second video not only tore the silence in cyberspace, but also triggered a mass panic that has never been seen in the history of modern music fans. Why did the digital authorities so quickly erase the traces of Jungkook and Jimin's suffering from circulation? And who exactly has the power to control the narrative on the global platform in just minutes? The silence that followed the removal of the video felt more deafening than any cry of outrage, creating a vacuum in which conspiracy theories began to flourish amid Army's desperation. As time passed in Los Angeles, the fog surrounding the studio incident only grew thicker, engulfing any search for the truth into the black hole of the entertainment industry's highly secretive bureaucracy. However, behind the concrete walls of major music labels in America, a much more dangerous drama is playing out, involving the lives and reputations of two global icons whom we have long considered untouchable by worldly dramas. Halsey, who is now the only key witness to dare to show partiality, has reportedly moved her location to an undisclosed place after receiving a series of very specific anonymous threats. An internal source close to the American singer leaked that Halsey had a longer audio recording taken clandestinely during the confrontation in the studio. The audio reportedly contains the voice of a man with a thick American accent, providing a direct threat to Jimin about his future if he does not sign a document referred to as the Global Amendment. What exactly is the content of the amendment to make a star as big as Jimin have to shed tears in such real despair? Is this a form of modern slavery encapsulated in a seemingly legal business contract? Or is there something more personal being used as a tool of blackmail against both of them? Our in-depth investigation leads us to the shocking fact of the existence of a secret faction within the American music industry known as TheCollective. The group is made up of shadowy executives who have control over the digital distribution and intellectual property rights of many of the world's top musicians. Jungkook and Jimin are caught in a trap set by the group to take over full control of their digital image. The scandal mentioned by Halsey was not about the bad behavior of the BTS members, but rather about a corporate scandal involving the manipulation of deepfake technology and the misuse of personal data to create a scenario that could destroy their careers in an instant if they did not comply. This is why Halsey seemed so shaken. She witnessed how two of her best friends were forced into a space where their identities were no longer their OWN in another corner of Los Angeles, precisely in a luxury apartment that became a temporary hiding place for BTS support staff. The atmosphere was reportedly very tense. Some staff